Virgo. Oh, finally. Finally, I have been waiting to give you this one. Um, if you're ready to receive something good, like and subscribe. So let's celebrate this properly. Uh, there is a difference between a life that is happening to you and a life you are dancing in. The life that happens to you is the one where you are always slightly offbeat, always responding, always adjusting, always arriving slightly after the moment rather than inside it. The life you are dancing in is the one where you are the rhythm, where things organize themselves around your movement rather than your movement organizing itself around things, where the music and the body have found their correspondence, and the correspondence produces the specific, unmistakable quality of someone in their element, someone who is not managing the dance but living inside it. You are entering the dance, not in the abstract, metaphorical, everything is beautiful sense, in the specific material, the actual conditions of your actual life are shifting into correspondence sense. The beat has been there the whole time. You have been finding it in moments, in the glimpses of what the full correspondence feels like, in the patches of life that had the dance quality, in the specific hours or days or experiences that gave you the felt sense of what it is to be inside your life rather than managing from the outside of it. Those moments were real. They were also insufficient. They were the taste without the meal, the preview without the feature. They were the rhythm without the dance. The dance is beginning. And with it, someone who has been learning the same rhythm from a different direction, who has been finding it in their own patches, in their own glimpses, in their own insufficient tastes of the full correspondence, is arriving, moving toward you at the speed of someone who has found what they were looking for, at the speed of someone who will not be satisfied with patches anymore. Strong, the word comes first in the title, and it comes first for a reason, because strong is the foundation, the quality without which the others cannot be fully themselves. Passion without strength is intensity that burns through its own fuel and produces drama rather than warmth. Loyalty without strength is accommodation that mistakes endurance for devotion. Romance without strength is performance that requires constant maintenance to sustain itself against the ordinary gravity of daily life. Strength here means something specific. Whew. Not physical, not the performance of dominance or the theatrical projection of power that is often marketed as strength and is in fact the opposite, the compensatory display of something that the displayer is not sure they actually have. Real strength is quiet. Real strength is the specific, non-negotiable, cannot be shaken quality of someone who knows who they are and does not require external validation to maintain the knowing. Someone whose sense of self is not dependent on the response of the people around them, not because they are indifferent to others, but because their foundation is internal rather than relational. Someone you can lean on, not because they told you that you could, but because you tried and they held. This person holds, without needing credit for the holding, without requiring you to acknowledge the weight they are bearing, without making the holding a transaction. I hold you so that you owe me the holding. Simply they hold. Because the holding is what strength does when it encounters someone worth holding, automatically, without drama, as a natural expression of what they are. That is the strong coming toward you. Loyal. In the era of options and the culture of the upgrade, Loyalty has been so consistently undervalued that even naming it as a quality to want can feel retrograde, as though wanting someone who stays is evidence of insufficient ambition, as though the person who chooses you and continues choosing you is somehow less interesting than the person who might or might not choose you depending on what else is available. Loyalty is not the consolation prize. It is the actual prize, the thing that all the exciting uncertainty is supposed to eventually resolve into, the state that the chase was aimed at from the beginning, even when the chasing obscured the aim. What every person who has ever wanted someone wants, underneath all the complexity of desire and attraction and the particular intoxication of uncertainty, is to be chosen, specifically, intentionally, with full knowledge of the alternatives and the specific deliberate selection of you rather than the alternatives. To be the choice that was made and continues to be made, not by default, not by inertia, not because the options narrowed to the point where you were the only option remaining, but because with options present, you are what they want. The loyal person sees the options, registers them, understands what they could pursue, and chooses repeatedly and without resentment not to pursue them, not out of inability or lack of opportunity or the absence of something that might be attractive elsewhere. Out of the specific, positive, grounded in what they actually value choice, to keep choosing the person who is already theirs, to invest in the specific rather than the potential, to build something rather than continuously beginning things. The person coming towards you has that quality. The specific, active, not passive loyalty of someone who chooses you with their eyes open to the alternative and finds the alternative less interesting than what they have. Passionate, not the anxious, insecure, needs constant reassurance, passion of someone whose feeling is primarily about themselves, about their own hunger, their own lack, their own need to feel alive through the intensity of wanting. That kind of passion is exhausting to receive because it asks more than it offers. It requires you to be the constant source of the other person's aliveness, which is both an impossible role and a deeply lonely one, to be someone's primary source of feeling without there being room for the actual person, your actual self with your actual complexity and your actual ordinary imperfect dailiness to be fully present in the connection. This passion is different. It is the passion of someone who is already alive and finds in you a specific amplification of that aliveness, who does not need you to be the source of their feeling, but who finds in your presence that the feeling that was already present intensifies, that what they felt before you was real, but that what they feel with you is more precise, more vivid, more fully itself. The passion of someone who has a rich enough interior life to bring to the encounter rather than requiring the encounter to supply it. That passion does not need managing. It does not require you to perform at a particular intensity to sustain it. It does not fluctuate in proportion to how much attention you are giving it. It is stable, not flat, not without heat, but stable in the specific, trustworthy way of something that has its own source, rather than depending entirely on your input to remain lit. A fire with its own fuel rather than a fire that requires your continuous tending. That fire is coming. Romantic. This word has been used so often to mean the grand gesture, the expensive dinner, the surprise trip, the manufactured moment of cinematic perfection, that its actual meaning has almost been lost. Romance, in its real form, is something quieter and more demanding than grand gestures. Grand gestures are easy. They require an investment of resources, time, money, planning, but not of self, not of the continuous, daily, requires ongoing attention, quality of presence that is actually what romance is made of. Real romance is noticing. Noticing what you like and providing it before you ask. Noticing what tires you and removing it without being asked. Noticing the specific quality of a particular silence and knowing whether it is comfortable or needs addressing. Noticing the things you do not say but that are visible in the way you hold yourself when something is wrong. Noticing you, the actual, specific, full complexity you, and responding to what you notice with the specific care of someone who is paying attention, not to the idea of you, but to the you that is actually here. The person coming toward you notices, has been noticing for longer than you realize, has accumulated in the noticing an understanding of what you are and what you need and what makes the specific quality of your particular life better, that will express itself not in a single grand gesture, but in the continuous, unglamorous, deeply sustaining flow of someone who knows you and acts on the knowing day after day, in the small choices, in the way they remember, in the way they show up specifically for the specific person you are, rather than generically for the partner they need you to be. That is the romantic coming. Not the performance, the practice. Coming to marry you, let this land at its actual size, not the size the cynical part of you wants to reduce it to, the part that has been disappointed before, that has learned to protect itself by keeping this particular want at a managed distance, that translates the full thing into something smaller before allowing itself to feel it. Let it be the full thing. The person who is strong and loyal and passionate and romantic, coming towards you with the specific intention of a permanent choosing, of a, this is the person, this is the life, this is what I have been moving toward without always knowing that I was choosing. The choosing is real, and it is approaching in the form of someone who has not yet said all of what they feel, but who is moving in every small and large way available to them in the direction of saying it, who has been building toward the expression of it in the specific, patient, this takes the time it takes way of someone who understands that some things cannot be rushed without being diminished, who is not rushing, who is moving at the speed of something that intends to last, which is slower than the speed of infatuation and more reliable than the speed of urgency, and which produces, when it arrives, not the peak experience of something intense, but the sustained quality of something real. The sustained quality. This is the time of your life, not because it will be the most dramatic, but because it will be the most real. Because it will be the period when what was wished for and worked toward and kept faith with through the difficult seasons finally corresponds to what the outside world is offering. When the internal and the external alignment produces the specific, daily, nothing special about Tuesday quality of a life that is genuinely, fundamentally good, not exciting in the fireworks sense, good in the this is mine and it is real and it is here sense. The time of your life, not the time of your most dramatic experiences, not the time of your highest peaks or your most intense feelings or the most headline-worthy events in the record of what happened to you. The time of your life in the specific, oldest, truest sense of the phrase, the period when you were most fully inhabiting the life that was actually yours. When the correspondence between what you are and what surrounds you was most complete. When the dance and the rhythm were most aligned. That time is beginning. It begins with someone approaching. Someone who is strong enough to hold and loyal enough to stay and passionate enough to keep the fire lit and romantic enough to notice the you that no one else has quite fully noticed. Who is coming with the specific, unhurried, I know what I want intentionality of someone who has not arrived here by accident or by default or because you happen to be available and they happen to be looking. They have been looking for you, not in the romantic novel sense of a destined search across impossible distances, in the very ordinary, very human, very real sense of someone who had a specific interior knowledge of what they needed built from the specific accumulation of their own experiences and their own understanding of what they were actually for and who found in you the correspondence to that knowledge, the fit, the specific, this is what I have been trying to describe fit that produces not excitement exactly, but the far more significant experience of recognition. They recognized you and they are moving toward what they recognized with the full, unhurried, intending to stay speed of someone who is not chasing a feeling but arriving at a life. Virgo, you have earned this. Not through suffering. Suffering is not the currency that purchases joy, and the framework of earning through pain is one that you can set down. You have earned this through the specific, patient, keep going anyway quality of someone who stayed in correspondence with what they actually wanted, even when what was available was less than that, who did not settle all the way down, who maintained in the private, honest place where such things are maintained, the specific interior knowledge of what was actually worth waiting for. That knowledge was accurate. It was always accurate. The thing you kept faith with, the quality of connection, the kind of love, the specific combination of strength and loyalty and passion and romance that you knew without being able to prove it was real and was possible and was worth the patience. That was not a fantasy. It was a navigation system, a way of staying oriented towards something real, even when real was not currently available. Real is becoming available in the form of someone who embodies what you kept faith with, who arrives not as the proof that you were right to wait. You did not need the proof. The knowing was sufficient, but as the correspondence, the outside world finally reflecting back what the inside world has always known was possible. Someone strong, someone loyal, someone passionate, someone romantic, coming to marry you, coming to dance, coming to make this the time of your life. Not through drama, through correspondence, through someone finally arriving who fits the rhythm you have been keeping all along.